But with that, now that we're here, let's get this started. We're gonna finish this too, but first we got yeah, we got 4 stories to read, so let's go. Let me just turn so long, my friend. Even when he is trying to look detached, his true feelings show through. He is timid, cowardly, and gentle. He might try his best to put on a threatening expression, but the smile that comes afterwards is indescribably sweet and almost worshipful. This is why Kime is always telling him to forget it. This happens when they are perched on bar stools or earning a day's pay in the quarry, or walking through the marketplace or standing on the stone-paved roadway. But why, big brother? Tobal says with a pout. He always calls Kime big brother, and though Time has never asked for his companionship, he takes every opportunity to follow him around. He is worshipful in a sense. Please take me to you, big brother Kime. When you leave this town, he begs like a child, even though he's old enough to have a regular job. Sailing over the ocean, crossing continents, traveling everywhere you like. My heart starts pounding when I imagine that kind of freedom, he says. Oh boy. His eyes shining like a child's. I've always wanted to meet a traveler like you, big brother. Take me with you, please. I can't stand this hick town anymore. He grabbed Kime's hand and cling to it like a little boy. And often he would look around at the people in the street or the crowds in the tavern, openly making boyish faces at them to show Kime his disgust. You come from another town, so you know what I'm talking about. The only thing this place has is its history. Sure, it's old, but it's half dead. Look at these people's faces. Not one of them has any spark. All they want is to get through one ordinary day after another without any problems. It's the worst place in the world. If I have to stay cooped up here much longer, I'm gonna have moss growing on me. No spark. Kime didn't see it that way. People here behave with a refinement and mild manner appropriate to a historic city known as the ancient capital. They simply have no taste for the kind of ambitions that go with high hopes or danger. Having never set foot outside this place where he was born and raised, Tabal knows nothing about other towns. Time knows all too much about them. There are those that used to be the left and the right banks of a single town, separated only by a river, but which now clash in hatred and intense and ongoing war. Towns in the grip of famine, where the residents snatch food from one another. Economically, flourishing towns rampant with crime, driven by greed. Towns of rotting houses abandoned by their people in search of wealth and prosperity. While just over the hill, there's the sparkle boom towns where the people celebrate their riches all night long. On his endless journey, Kime has seen towns without numbers. And he not only thinks of to himself, he says to Tabal, "This is a good town." But praise is the last thing Tabal wants to hear about his hometown. You must be joking. Not at all. This is a really good town. I'm telling you that it can't be true. No place is perfect, of course. I'm not talking about perfection. I've only been here 6 months or so. You don't know. I've been stuck in this town, in this hick town since the day I was born. You can't know how I feel. I'm bored out of my mind. I'm sick of the place. I can't stand it anymore. Yeah. Time is not unaware of what Tabal is trying to tell him still. But no, Kaim shakes his head and gives sours. Oh, you know, there are some people in this world who would give anything to get a taste of what it's like to have enough peaceful days to make you bored. Well, that may be so. I think you were lucky to have been born in a town like this. The people are so happy. When you sleep at an inn in this town, you don't have to keep your ear cocked all night for threatening sounds in the hallway. Young women can walk the streets at night without a dagger for protection. The children have plenty of plain but nourishing food, and they can play outdoors until the sun goes down. Life on the road teaches you these things. The more towns you see, the more deeply the lesson leaves its mark on you. The kind of things that Tabal takes for granted are in fact the indisputable keys to happiness. That's for sure, big brother. The happiness making your dreams come true. If all you need to do is to go on living in peace and security, what's the point of living at all? Tabal is not just being perverse and arguing for the sake of arguing. Eyes locked on Kaim, asking these questions in all seriousness and sincerity. Kaim recognizes that Tabal is an absolutely straightforward fellow, and that precisely because he had a comfortable, untroubled upbringing. He has come to feel constrained in the town where he was born. The irony of it calls forth a twinge of pain in Kaim's breast. This in turn provokes him to challenge Tabal. Now tell me, what is your dream? My dream? It's obvious, isn't it? To get the hell out of this place as soon as possible. And go where? Anywhere but here. And what will you do when you get there? I don't know. What if you end up someplace that's not at all what you're expecting? I said I don't know, didn't I? Stop being so hard on me, big brother. I'm not being hard on you. These are things you have to think about. Well, I've had enough. An outsider like you can't possibly know how I feel. Oh, but we do. But we also know the other side of things. Though he stalks away in anger, Tabal, back in the morning, as worshipful as ever of his big brother, has a simple, carefree personality of a child. Tabal has a wife. The young, still girlish Angela, whom he has known since childhood. Angela carries within her the crystallization of their love. Tabal will soon become a father. Tabal's parents, relatives, and friends shower their blessings upon the young couple, who will soon be young parents. But Tabal says to Kaim, I don't want this. Glowering, he all but spits the words out as you two sit at the far end of the bar. Don't want to be a father? Kaim asks. Tony increases the bitterness of Tabal's expression. Tabal nods, as if to negate this answer. He mutters, no. I'm glad enough to have a kid. How could I not be happy about that? But I don't know. I just don't want this. He can't quite put it in the words, he says. Cocks his head a few times as if to explain himself, and then he swings down his liquor. You don't have a family, do you, big brother? No, I don't. What does it feel like to be all alone in the world? Only answer is a strange smile. His silence to suit himself. You're absolutely free, right? Of course you are. No load to bear, no irons. You think kids are like irons? In a word, yes. To tell the truth, Angela is too. And my parents, when they get old, there'll be another burden. Working every day for Angela and the kids, raising the kid, taking care of my old parents, and my life ends. That's what the birth of a child is. It's like a life sentence. You're stuck. Not in agreement with this. Neither does he try to argue against it. What are these sounds? Oh, that reminds me. Speaking of sounds, my VODs on Twitch are being flagged. And the best part is the flag part of it, the considered the DMCA part, is dolphin sounds and ocean waves. Sound effects, essentially, are being flagged by the system. It's just how. So yeah, if you play a game on Twitch and it has dolphin sounds, it will get flagged. And that part will be muted. Hilarious. Anyway. Nothing. Tabal, uncomfortable, looks away. I'm glad, he says, more to himself than to Kaim. I'm glad to having a kid with Angela. I'm going to do everything I can for them. It's true, I wouldn't lie to you. You have to believe me, big brother. I really am happy, and I know I'm going to have to work hard. Yes, I know. I'm happy, but at the same time, I don't want it. It's not that I'm embarrassed about it or anything. It's just that, I don't know, I want to give up this whole business and run away somewhere far away. So now the truth comes out. It says with a laugh. Kind says with a laugh. Oh boy. What do you mean? You just said you want to run away, not travel. This is probably Cabal's true feelings, to which he gives grudging assent. I suppose so. How else can I put it? Should have put it like that at the beginning. Kaim almost wishes he had been a little tougher in Tabal. How would Tabal answer if he said, for example, you know, Tabal, you started talking about traveling with me around the time Angela's belly started to swell. What would the look on Tabal's face be like if he asked, if a family is leg irons, why did you ever even propose to Angela? How would Tabal shift his gaze if he confronted him with, you know, Tabal, if you want to get out of this town so badly, you don't have to travel with me, just take off by yourself. But Kaim doesn't have the meanness to ask such questions, nor is he giving to meddling in people's private affairs. Instead, he drains his cup to its last few drops and says only, let's get out of here. Even after they have left the tavern, the ball goes on about the stupidity of living the risk of life in this town. The broad night sky is clear, the moon is out and perfectly round. I'm asking you again, big brother, when you leave this town, just say the word to me. Wouldn't it be better, you two, to have a traveling companion? The ball is starting to go in circles again when time interrupts him. Didn't you want to go out, get out of there, all by yourself? Moving with a companion is not exactly a solo trip. No, well, you see, you're right. I'd just go part way with you. You can let me tag along a little while, and then I'll take off on my own. You just slow me down. I know that. I know that. Traveling is hard, sure. Life might even be in danger sometimes, but I know that. That's what makes it so thrilling. Risking your life is no game. Look, if I turn out to be a drag on you, you could just leave me behind. That's it. I wouldn't mind that. I mean, look, I'm ready to leave my parents and my wife and my kid behind. This is never going to end. I'm not. What a science says, alright, you'll take me with you? I'll his face light up. I've been in this town too long, says. Time says. It's about time for me to get out there walking with the wind in my face. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Walk with the wind in your face. Life on the road. When do we leave? It's getting pretty late in the year. You don't want to be on the road in the winter, do you? Say, how about after the snow and the pass has melted? And the moon hanging in the night sky, huh? Otherwise, he looks up. This moon is perfectly round again. After its waned and max, meaning exactly 1 month from tonight. Oh. He starts to move as if he wants to say something. Probably wants to say, that's too soon. Betrays a look of hesitation, confusion that was absent when he was engaged in his usual endless chatter. A month from now? That's the middle of Redonia. I know that. Be hard getting through the pass. You don't want to go? No, that's not it. If you don't like it, you don't have to come with me. I'm leaving the night of the next full moon. That's all. Do it. Okay then, big brother, I'll go. I'm not filling in. He's trying to make the conditions harsh to show that it's better if you stay. The night of the next full moon. Angela would be having her baby right about then. Ah. He has no choice but to stay. The month slips by. Towards the beginning, the ball is excited whenever they meet. He reminds Kaim, don't forget your promise, big brother. After the waning moon has disappeared from the sky, however, he begins to grow more reserved. Appears in the sky and it waxes little by little. trailing after Kime. Sometimes he goes so far as to slip away through the crowd. And he sees Kime approaching in the marketplace. Kime notices the ball's change in attitude. It's something he expected to happen and was even counting on. One wears a smile of deep serenity as she stops at the market. Not just Tabal, but everyone who encounters that smile of hers. We come to realize this. The dream of the young, to be sure, involving what you want to do. But that is not the only kind of dream there is. When people grow up, they see that there is another kind of dream, and that is to wish for the smile of the one you love and who loves you in return, to long for it always and forever. That is another kind of dream that people come to understand when they grow up. Uh-oh. 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 Oh, man. Time. So now he's got to choose. And its perfect roundness, the moon floods the empty stone-paved road, but bringing light. The ball comes running out of breath. The empty room where Kime has completed his preparations. The ball is carrying nothing. He has not even changed out of his everyday clothes. Brother, I'm so sorry, he pants, grasping for breath. He ducks his head repeatedly before I'm in an apology. You changed your mind? Mom? No, not at all. I'm going to go. I'm planning to go with you. Only. Angela went into labor as the sun was going down, he says. They called the town's most skilled and experienced midwife, but Tabal still hasn't heard the baby cry. The birth is taking much longer than it should. Mother is giving her everything she's got. Father praying for all their work. So at least the baby safely returns. I want to stay with Angela. She says it calms her down and so well. I really can't leave her now. Wait a little longer. As soon as I've seen the baby born, I'll leave home, I swear. I'll definitely go. So just get around with it, Zeke. I understand. I'll wait until the moon is directly overhead in the night sky. It won't take that long. Just have to wait a little while. No hurry. But on the other hand, I want you to promise one thing. What's that? When the baby is born, I want you to hold it in your arms. Don't come back here until you held the baby, understood? What nods in agreement and says, understood. I'll do exactly that, big brother. So be sure to wait for me. Was out of the room with even greater force than when he came in. The sounds of the footsteps running on the stone pavement draws away, and when Kime is sure he's gone, a smile slowly spreads across his face. Once it's over, it's overhead. Time's up. The ball never comes back. As the moon reaches its zenith, it begins to clip through the west. Signs of light appear in the eastern sky. Kime approaches the mountain pass at the edge of town. He will be traveling alone. Heading up the pass, he walks swiftly as if to shake off the sounds of Tabal's voice raining. Brother Kime, I'm sorry, big brother. You can imagine the voice all too clearly, and in abject apology, there is no need for him to hear the actual voice. Long after he has left the town, he will continue to see Tabal's worshipful smile in the eye of his mind. Tabal would not have provided much support as a traveling companion, but a journey together would likely have given them both much to laugh about. But never mind. This is just fine, Kime tells himself, and ups his pace even more. He's not the least bit resentful or angry at Tabal for having broken his promise. Quite the contrary, he would like to bless Tabal for having chosen to stay in his native place and protect his home. All the more so because this is a dream that can never come true for Kaim himself. And the pre-dawn pass. If the cries of the born baby could ride on the wind, to be heard up here, was that the thought. Will Tabal abandon his dream to leave his hometown? Or will he start looking for another big brother who will help conceal his fears of going on the road alone? Time has no way to tell. Best to leave it resolved. Could not take the road the night his child was born. The hands with which he held his newborn baby were useless for travel preparations. If only for that reason, took one step towards becoming a grown-up. Let's go, mutters to himself as he crosses over the pass. Look, Angela, he's smiling. A happy smile that Tabal fixes on his baby will be traveling companion enough for Kaim until he reaches the next town. It's kind of long. That's concerning. The tragedy of butchered children. Alright, we'll read this one and probably do some of this game and then I don't know. Everyone knows this general as the Butcher. Oh boy. We're starting off strong, aren't we? Everyone knows this general as the Butcher. He is strong in battle, a skilled technician. He has mastered the techniques of turning the specifics of telegraphy and timing to his advantage, and he is standing above all in the skills of an indivisible warrior. Oh boy. Victory on the battlefield, however, does not lead straight to butchery. Many generals have been nicknamed for their military prowess. The victorious, the indomitable, the invincible, but only one is known as the Butcher. Do you know why that is, Kaim? The general himself, as he gloats over a vast mountain of corpses, does not apply. Kaim does not reply. He entered the fray as a mercenary, but his exploits far outclass those of the regular troops. For a general to call a man into his presence and speak to him face to face is apparently an honor beyond even most officers' wildest dreams. Not just winning battles, the general goes on. That would be too simple. Just kill the enemy general. Take the big one's head and the battle is over, right? Nods inside. That is how this battle should have ended instead of continuing for 3 days. The enemy general proposed a surrender on the first day. He offered his head in exchange for the lives of his men in the villages, but the butcher rejected the offer and continued his all-out attack on an enemy, lost the will to fight, annihilating them in the process. The last day was used to burn down the forest into which the unresisting villagers had fled. So, in other words, you're a psychopath, not a butcher. Yeah, you're a butcher. Does it end when you raise the victory song on the battlefield? Even if one person survives, the seed of hatred lives on. I'm talking about the desire for revenge. Nothing good can come from leaving that behind. You might cut the cause of future troubles at the root. This is why the troops under the general's command killed the young men village after they were through exterminating the enemy troops. They also killed the unarmed old people. They killed mothers fleeing with children, or they killed the children. They stripped from those mothers' corpses. Do you think me cruel, kind? I do. Gathered around them, went pale, but the butcher himself smiled. Go on. You didn't do any of those things, I gather. My job is to kill soldiers on the battlefield. My contract doesn't call for anything else. And I'm saying that that is a foolish line of thinking. The soldiers you killed have brothers and children. You plan to go on living in fear of their revenge? That is sheer stupidity. If you wipe out the entire family, you can live without such worries. You see? Where are you going, Kyle? We are through talking, aren't we? My contract has ended. Nah, just wait. Hunt lines. What do you say to fighting under me from now on? You could exploit your more. I am not interested. What's that? I will never draw my sword on an unarmed opponent. You still don't understand me. Try reading a little history. Here we go. You'll find that hatred only breeds more hatred. This is what inadvertently brings down even the most preposterous nations and powers, which is why I make absolutely sure to sever it at the root. If you ask me, General, war and butchery are two different things. The saying goes for valor and brutality. A lonely mercenary dare to lecture me? Tell you something about hatred, too, General. It doesn't evaporate from cutting off a line. It remains in the earth, in the clouds. When I've lived my life in that belief, and I intend to go on doing so. Butchery is the work of cowards. That is what I believe. Where do you get the nerve? At that very moment, from within the scorched forest comes the cries of soldiers. Here are some. 5 of them still left. No, 6, only there. They went that way. Distracted by the shouts, the general commands his men. Hurry, capture them. Fidget, none of them thinks to stop him as he... let them escape. If one of them gets away, I'll have... Those... Yep. The general's calls are those of a coward. Resided many battles after that, and he burned countless villagers to the ground, butchering all their inhabitants. Then one night something happened. The general felt a strange itching sensation on the back of his hand. It was different from the ordinary insect hook or skin erupt, and it was deeper down and felt like kind of squirming. This is odd. He clawed at his skin, but the itch would not subside. No redness or swelling or sign of a rash. Maybe I touched a poisonous moth? The general had burnt yet another village to the ground that day. Surrounded by beautiful countryside, the village in times of peace had been the flowering hamlet. In keeping with the name, the villagers poured their energies into cultivating flowers of many hues, and the ones in full bloom in this particular city had the color of a setting sun. Indeed, the entire village looked as if it had been dyed the color of a beautiful afterglow. This was the village that the general burned down with flames far redder than any sunset. The villagers who ran in circles begging for their lives, he killed one at a time, far redder than the sunset. Redder than the flames was the blood that soaked into the earth. But this is how it always is. I didn't do anything special today. Shaking the hand that refused to stop itching, took a swallow of liquor, and in that moment it happened. Tearing through the thin skin on the back of his hand, a number of small grain-like things emerged from within. No blood flowed, accompanying them exactly the way plants sprout from the earth. No, the things that covered over the back of his hand before his very eyes were unmistakably plant sprouts. Or razor to the back of his hand and tried to shave the things off. When the blade came to contact with them, they gave off sounds like human moans. Sounds exactly like the moans of a human being dying. Of a human being dying in agony as his entire body is slashed by swords. Or like the moans of a person who is being burned alive. Yeah, you shut up. Wow. Holding the razor in one hand to shave the other. I cover his ears. His body was soaked in a greasy sweat by the time he succeeded in shaving the horrible things from the back of his hand. To salve his own anger, he shouted for the men who were supposed to be guarding him. Where the hell have you been, sir? You should have come running when you heard usual voices coming from my tent. That is your job as my guards, the guards. Forgive me, sir. We were standing just outside the rescue, but we never heard any such. Keeping his wailing anger in check, he shouted, "Never mind, then. Get out." He was too upset to waste time on supporting, so much meaning the itching attacked the back of his hand again, but this time it was not limited to his hands. His flanks, his shoulders, his buttocks, and his knees. Body started itching. You don't have to go that detailed. Could have just said his entire body. Alone again, the general tore off his nightclothes and inspected his entire body in the moonlight seeping through the roof of the tent. The things were sprouting from everywhere. Some even had leaves regaining the ground, raised a soundless scream, and began wildly attacking the growths wherever he could reach. Each one he cut from his body released a horrific moan. Horrible, horrible, horrible. His bed sheets turned green before his eyes, and soon the numberless sprouts were transformed into numerous human corpses. What? They covered not only his bed, but the whole earth, before they melted into the darkness of night and vanished. Paranoia. One sleepless night followed another in endless succession. The horrible things keep sprouting from his skin, however much he cut off. Ointments had no effect. He tried taking every poison quelling tablet he could get his hands on, but nothing worked. He could not speak of this to his subordinate. If a rumor spread that strange plants were sprouting from the butcher's body, he would embolden his enemies and discourage his allies. One of his subordinates must even try to take his head at night. His cowardice had earned him the name of the Butcher, and that same cowardice was what turned the general into an lonely, isolated man. He had no one he could tell about this, like the general waged his lonely battle, though perhaps it could not be called a battle precisely. The things merely sprouted from his body, put up no resistance. When he took the razor to them, they would simply moan and fall away. What the general was engaged in on his own was less a battle than lonely butchery. Several more nights went by. The sprouting continued with undiminished force. A single fortunate aspect, perhaps, was that the things only sprouted in places on his body where the general could reach with his razor. This could have been a curse, however. The general had no choice but to go on shaving the things precisely because he could reach them, precisely because he would have performed the butchery by himself, could not call for help. His lonely butchery continued. His sleepless nights continued. The general's flesh wasted away. Why is this happening? He asked himself. Why did this have to happen to me? This is a time for war. I'm here on a battlefield. I have to kill the enemy in order to survive. In order to give myself future peace of mind, I have to kill them all, both armed and unarmed. It is simple common sense, the general all but spit out words. All I have done is the sensible thing in the most sensible way. This night, again, the sprouts emerged from his body. This night again, the general had to shave them off. Again, the countless moans. Again, the countless bodies. He heard the, to announce the end of the night. Again, the general passed the night without comfort of sleep. Once severely conditioned on the battlefield, withered away before his own eyes. But more than his body, his mind became unstable. He spent his days sprawled in his bed, eyes opened or closed, would see images of his past scenes of butchery. Now he began to call the words of a skilled but insolent mercenary. Hatred doesn't develop from the cunning of a life. It remains in the earth, in the clouds, in the wind. The general wanted to see that man again, to see him again. Have I been wrong all these years? The man himself, a man of few words, would probably not answer his question. Still, the general wanted to see him again. That mercenary, that kind fella. The sun went down, the night gradually deepened. As always, the itching started, and the plants began to sprout. But the general fingers that now looked like withered branches no longer had the strength to shave them off. His back began to itch. This was the first time that things had spread somewhere beyond his reach, as if they had been waiting for this opportune moment. Sprawled on his bed, the general let the razor drop from his hand. Oh, I don't care anymore. And before long, they had covered him completely. At that point, his back split open, and an unusually large sprout emerged. By dawn, the sprout had fully matured, and before the crowd it produced a single blossom the color of an evening afterglow. Many long years have passed. Visiting the old battlefield, Kime finds a flower garden there, blooming in profusion. Are flowers of clearly different shape and color than the ones along its border. Beside the garden stands a stone monument inscribed with the garden's history. In this place, a great general met its end. He was known as the Butcher. He died suddenly one night, and from his body grew many flowering plants. These were evening flowers, a blossom unique to a village the general had burnt to the ground. An ancient legend tells that the seeds of the evening flower lodge in the bodies of those who nourish hatred in their breasts, and the roots of the plants feed the flowers. And the roots of the plant feed the flowers with the person's flesh. The garden flowers, color of the setting sun, sway in a gentle breeze. I stand there for a time, gazing at the countless flowers given birth by hatred, walking on in silence. It is said that in the very center of the garden lies a disintegrating suit of armor. No one has ever found it. Well, that was... Oh. Well, that was... Oh, boy. Alright. Two more. Two more. I'm running out of water, though. Two more. And then we can finish the chapter open. Huh. Oh, hold on. We need a moment. Apparently that was a thing. It just happened. Yeah, I knew it. It's going down. My stream is falling apart. Okay. Well, at least I got two stories done.